to Indie Housing Market Podcast, and we have a special guest today, Teresa Conley from Centurion Title. So we're going to do all things title today. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Shelly Walters with FC Tucker.
And Justin Griffith with Keller Williams, Indy Metro Northeast.
Thanks for having me too. I appreciate the invite.
Likewise.
You're welcome. It's so good to have you. So we just wanted to pick your brain. We think you're such an awesome title rep for us here with Centurion Title. So what is some of the things that we could talk about that you think is important for agents to know what's going on in your world that you see happening that maybe agents could be a little better at or educated at?
Ooh. Okay, well, thank you for asking me that. I appreciate it. The other day I posted something on my Facebook story that we see day in and day out, like, agents be better. And I was like, I hope that nobody takes offense and that cost me some business. But anyways.
Well, I think we say the same thing all the time.
We really appreciate when people know what they're doing.
No problem. We try hard to pay attention to what's going on and how we can help agents grow and be educated.
I know you do a lot of training. That's
process,
really helpful.
yes.
And that's one thing we always talk about. Agents should continue their training no matter how long. I mean, I've been in the business 14 years. I go to training every time I can because there's always something. But so let's just jump into some things that we should be doing with you in regards to getting, maybe let's just say, talk about sellers.
Yes.
So I know I like to do pre-title. So why would pre-title be something that you would agree that should be done?
We recommend agents run preliminary title on their listing contracts to make sure that the property is good to go and ready to sell. Preliminary title helps you and your title company partner and get better the odds that you get to close with your title company. However, doing so will show you if there's any defects that your seller needs to be aware of.
Because they're not always aware of it.
No, they're not. They may have, liens, judgments. Some agents and sellers don't understand that a home equity line of credit is also like having a mortgage. So they don't realize that will show up on title. They may forget that they quitclaimed their grandson onto title 10 years ago, right? So it's good to have all your ducks in a row for when a buyer is ready to put in an offer. So that way you are ready for a good, quick close.
And you're not starting from the time that you get the offer with that 30-day timeline. You've already cleared title, which is something that's always not fun to do if you find that out.
Right.
Sometimes it'll screw up closing if you don't have it. So in regards to finding out stuff on the title, just the liens that they never know are there. That's always, and some of those can be hefty enough that they may not be able to close now because of the proceeds they're receiving. So it's just helping your seller be ready for closing. I know, if they've been through a divorce or something like that, they may not know what's going on. So
well, and I will say some agents think that the title company is going to start clearing title just because they have a preliminary file.
Right.
And we really don't want to start clearing title until there's actually a buyer in place.
Right.
But it does help to know what we're getting ready to clean up.
Right. And what things they need to start looking for, because I know one of the things you kind of find is their name could be, Joe Smith.
Yes.
And Joe Smith has a lot of issues, and you've got to prove that you're not that Joe Smith.
Correct.
So
and if that's the case, then all we'll do is have your seller sign a not one and the same affidavit at the closing table, just stating that those debts are not belonging to them.
Yeah.
You ever had any interesting names pop up on that search?
Mm.
I've been to a few closings.
Not that
I've
come
seen
to
it.
mind. What have you seen?
Cheeseburger. Somebody had signed up
Seriously?
for a T-shirt in college for a credit card, and it had popped up.
Oh my gosh.
He had to put it on his form.
But he's not one in the same.
Yeah.
That's
they
funny.
always find your information.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about with the pre-title and knowing maybe some liens are out there, but what do we call our net sheet needs to be done. So do you recommend a net sheet? I know our brokers do.
Your brokers should, right? We highly recommend that you are doing a seller's net sheet for your seller, if not at the time of your listing appointment, quickly after, because surely your seller wants to know how much they're going to net at closing. And this is also when the conversation of tax prorations should be coming up. I do think a lot of agents maybe trip over how to have these conversations with their sellers. And a lot of times sellers are then calling the title company for help. We don't mind helping, however, maybe their agent should be doing their job and helping them understand why are they crediting so much to the buyer at closing for taxes, right?
It could be a lot of money.
It usually is.
Yeah.
So we all know that in Indiana, our taxes are done in arrears. So your seller will be paying the buyer for the time that they owned the house, but that bill hasn't come due yet. And so definitely work on your technique on figuring those amounts out for your sellers.
And explaining that as part of the net sheet, but it's not really part of the closing costs.
Correct.
So there's two things. It's like they want to know what their closing costs are. That's one column, but you do owe some taxes at closing as well. So that's not this one and the same, but it should be all combined.
Right. Right.
Yeah, the math part of that, I think you could actually get a PhD in just
Yes,
to do the
there is
taxes
a
in
formula.
Indiana. It's absolutely crazy.
Right.
But
The math of it is, and I always draw this funky picture of arrows going all different directions. I just,
However you get there.
yeah.
Just get there.
They still don't. They're like whatever.
yeah, sounds
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I'm not,
As long as we're ballpark.
right.
Right.
So then, in regards to wiring, are you seeing a lot of issues there?
Yes. So we are. It does seem like title companies hold, I'd say like 70% of earnest money on the transactions that we're closing.
Right
It's
now, you're
crazy.
holding it.
Right now, in the past few years, yes.
Really?
All day, every day, I am being asked to send my wiring instructions to buyers. Whether it be
Is
for
it coming
earnest
from-
money or funds for closing.
Yeah. Is it coming from certain brokerages that don't have earnest
Yes.
accounts?
Well,
Or is
I've kind of been curious about this too, because this has like been a big wave in the last year or two,
Yes.
and I don't know
I think
where
it has
came
to do
from.
with some of the brokerages that maybe that have come along that don't have.
Definitely.
Well, they do have it, but it's
Definitely,
a
but
process
also-
of actually doing it, and agents just would rather throw it towards you. But I brought something here to say is this is out there, and this is what the Real Estate Commission states, that they have no authority over earnest money being held at a title company. And that's a major red flag for you guys holding the earnest money.
right. And I think the agents should be made aware. I mean, yesterday I received a purchase agreement where Remax and Trueblood are on it. Those are bigger agencies.
Mhm.
Not sure why they're asking title to
Yeah.
hold it. I don't ask these questions.
Right.
But I'm like, sure, let me send out my wiring instructions. I think that maybe it pertains, I don't know.
I don't
Some
either.
investors, I have
The
seen some
reason-
investors that like specifically
Yeah.
require it or whatnot. I don't understand it.
Well, so I come from my point of view, and maybe anybody out there that can explain this to us, we would love to talk to this further, because I've had issues where I didn't push back on this, let the title company hold it. When it comes time to release the earnest money, I'm gonna say it out loud, that's a shit show.
Totally.
I mean, that does not go well, and it doesn't usually go well for your client in the end. I mean, buyer or seller, because the Real Estate Commission does not start their 60-day process letter. They have nothing to do with it, so we have no brokers that can back us anymore.
Right.
I would love to know really how that's going more, but you're seeing 70% of your closings.
I mean, that's a personal opinion,
Yeah.
but yes.
Wow.
I mean, more and more agents are getting with EXP and they prefer that title companies hold it. But, you know,
They
like
do
I said,
have
it's
that.
not just EXP. Yesterday, you know, that contract that I just mentioned. You know, smaller mom and pop agencies.
Yeah.
But yes.
So when
So-
you get a mutual release, how often are you seeing the mutual releases come to you? Then you have to process that. I know you yourself don't handle that. You said you throw that up the chain of command, but
Unfortunately, often mutual releases are very common.
they're happening
now.
more now.
These
Right
days,
now,
more
these
than ever,
days.
yeah.
We talked about that last week.
Yeah. I think I had 16 mutual releases last month.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Compared to like a year ago, how many would you guys have gotten?
Right.
5
Yeah.
in a
it's-
month.
Yeah.
So fortunately, well, what we're looking for when we get that mutual release is to see how we're supposed to release it.
What if it's
Very rare is it not
not agreed upon?
mentioned.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's when I step away and I pass the torch to upper management.
Above my pay
I'm
grade.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anybody that can help us explain that more, I would love to know,
Yes.
because I think it's an issue. Like you said, it's growing more and more, and we're
Mhm.
seeing it more and more. And
Yeah.
especially with so many releases these days. It's
Yeah.
just something that's going to add a hurdle, and I think it just, worst case, it's going to add a delay, and it could be months and months before you get your money back. I wouldn't recommend it for a buyer of mine, but
Me neither, or a seller of mine, because I can't fight to get the earnest money when a buyer has just walked for no reason.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just something, and my understanding, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is from experiences that I've seen, is it has to go to court. Then it's going to cost you a lot more than that earnest money, more than likely. But you're going to court, you have no broker package. Oh, long conversation on that one.
Well, while we're on the topic of earnest money, I also want to mention if the title company is holding it, and this doesn't apply to if the agencies, brokerages are holding it, but when title company is holding it, a lot of times agents or their buyers will drop off the money in the form of a personal check. And some agents may or may not know that when it is a personal check, title companies are lenient and will accept that personal check as long as it's under $10,000 or $9,999.99. But just know that when it's a personal check, it has to follow that 14-day period where it has to clear the bank. And so if the deal falls through, neither side will get that money back till the 14-day count is up. Or if you wanted to close prior to the 14 days, that will cause a hiccup as well. So try to always advise your buyers to submit it in the form of a cashier's check or a wire.
Right. And then in the form of the wire, I know you guys have just had a class recently about the wire fraud and all the stuff you're coming into. So can you explain to us what wiring issues you're coming across, and how money gets to the closing table and everything?
Yes. So it is important for agents to know what their title company's process is. That way you can confidently and confidently speak to your buyer on what they should expect, right? So Centurion, I know we will always deliver our wiring instructions through our secure platform, which is called Certified. The buyer gets a text and an email from Certified, not from Centurion. And if any title company is out there just emailing wiring instructions over in the form of a PDF, that's a red flag. Tell them not to expect.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Or it's not real, right?
Correct. You don't know. So
if it came in a PDF, more than likely it's not real.
Right.
And we don't send them either. So if it comes from us, it didn't come from us either. So that's a whole nother issue.
We don't want to receive agents' wiring instructions through PDF email either. So don't send us that's how you guys want your money either. Maybe bring them to closing and we can keep them on file, whatnot like that. But so just know the process of the title company. That way you can tell your buyer what they should expect. Also, give your buyer the title company's office phone number to call to confirm those instructions. Sometimes I'm doing podcasts or I'm doing Title 101s, so they can call me, but I may or may not answer. So give them the main office phone number and have that stored in your phone. But anywho, so that's as far as how we deliver our wiring instructions. Something that we're seeing big right now in our industry is seller fraud. So vacant land, when that's being sold by somebody and the realtor doesn't know who their seller is, we're gonna go above and beyond to have the seller answered Q&A that only they should know from their past. And if they fail out of that, then we got another problem. But we're seeing that fraudsters are definitely trying to take advantage of vacation homes, right, and vacant land. So be on guard with that.
Are you seeing more and more fraud?
Yes.
I was going to say, I just saw a news story on CNN Money that somebody had sold some vacant land, and it's like the guy had held on to it for 20, 30 years and then pulled up and there was like $1 million house on it. And they had sold the property without their name. And I don't know what they did on it, but literally sold it to an investor. The guy didn't live close to it. And then a year later it came and was like, hey, I didn't know you built a house. And had no idea that he had lost the property and is now suing the builder and everybody. But
wow.
Sounds unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it's happening. I mean, it's like
you've owned all this land for so long, where your dream is someday to build a beautiful home on it, and
somebody's
not like you go and check it ever. You go and check it, and somebody else did it.
But it is amazing how many people are out there just, on a daily basis, just trying to figure out how to get. And real estate seems to be a really big scam business.
Yeah.
Big sums of money, wires. I mean, it's
You had mentioned something about doing an ACH instead of a wire and issues with that possibility of doing it incorrectly. What was going on there?
So what that means is whenever your buyer is gonna send money to the title company in the form of a wire, maybe it's for just earnest money or even funds for closing, make sure that they know that they are truly sending a wire. Because a lot of times people think, oh, I can send a wire from the luxury of my own little laptop here. I don't need to go to the bank. Well, if I were you, I would advise them to go to the bank if they can. Because when they're sending it from their bank's website, they accidentally send it in the form of an ACH. And there's a difference between an ACH and a wire. Title companies generally have blockers on our accounts, and we don't receive that money when it's sent to us via ACH. And what ACH means is that the sender can just retract it back, I believe. And so the title company will never get it. And so then the next day, tomorrow, when you're calling me asking me if we've received your wire, and we say no, then your buyer is upset. They're mad at you because you didn't tell them. You're mad at us because we never told you.
Where's my money?
Right. And it can take 24 to 48 hours for that buyer to get their money back, to then rewire it to us the proper
Especially
way.
if they so many people do the day of closing or
Right.
right after the day before. Now closing is fast.
And what if it was already like postponed a week? No. Such a bad experience. So
But
make
you have
sure
to do a wire in person. I mean,
sometimes.
well, and I know the other thing you need to know and talk about your buyers or your buyers that you have is where is their bank? I mean,
I love it.
how many times I've heard the story of, the day before closing, they're like, well, I'm going to send my wire, and they're in New England somewhere.
Wells Fargo is down in Kentucky. So
Yeah.
you got
So
a
it's
whole
like,
ass down there.
I've known of people who have jumped on planes at the last minute to go do their wire in person. And in today's world, I mean, I understand it, but
crazy.
really we have to go fly to the state to get that done. But if you don't know that, and you're definitely going to possibly have an issue of closing delayed because your bank isn't anywhere near.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes banks have limits on how much they allow you to wire a day. So having these conversations up front, where's your bank at? Is it local? Especially if your client is moving here from out of state.
Right, and that's when it usually happens.
Is your bank local? Do they have limits? Things that you want to talk to them up front is if they do hold title in an entity, ask them for those documents supporting who can sign on behalf up front. They're packing, they're moving, so get those articles of organization or whatnot to prove that they have authority to sign on behalf of that entity.
And if they only have authority as one, then that's okay. But if Uncle John has to do it in California and you don't know that till the day before closing, then so it's kind of like prelim for sellers. It's kind of like prelim for buyers.
Yes, exactly. And also make sure that if you're working with a seller in an entity that they have a bank account open in that entity's name.
Or they're not going to get any money, right?
So 30 days from now, that title company is going to be made payable, your money's going to be made payable to the trust. And then they're mad that they can't go put that check in the trust bank account because they don't have one.
Or in their
I wish somebody would have told me.
There's so much to know, but that's what we're here to do, right?
We learn from trial and error, unfortunately. But let's prevent that.
Yeah, so I know one thing that happened to me that was, I'm always about the purchase agreement and listing contract being, every box checked.
Yes.
And the one section there is about foreign tax.
Yep.
So there is a question, are they subject to foreign tax? And two things happen. One is, as an agent, you can't just answer that. You must ask that question, because if you just answer it, you're holding everybody accountable for something that you really didn't know the answer to. And the second part is it could be a lot of money. Yeah. So explain to us about foreign tax and how that comes into play.
Okay,
with the closing.
So foreign tax, there's an abbreviation for it. It's called FIRPTA, F-I-R-P-T-A, and I'm gonna tell you what that stands for. Foreign Investment in Real Property Tax Act. So
nailed it.
Yes, thank you. Whenever there are sellers that do not have a social security number, they will be held to the FIRPTA Act.
So that's the easiest way. If you ask your seller, are you subject to the foreign tax? They always look at you cross-eyed and go, what do you mean by that? And I could just literally, the second question be, do you have a United States Social Security number? If they say no, We now know that they could be subject to foreign tax.
Correct, they could be, yes.
And we need to have them go where or to who to find that out?
You can have them or yourself contact someone at Centurion, your
Okay.
Centurion rep, and we can walk you through that process.
It could be a lot of money.
It
Yeah,
could
what
be a lot of
percentage
money.
is it a flat percent or do you?
You know, I don't see it very often,
Mhm.
and I do not know the percentage. I need to go
I'm sure it's
sharpen up
chunky.
on that for
I'm sure it's chunky.
Exactly.
Well, I know
Uncle
I
Sam
did.
wants his
The
cut.
reason I know that that's a very important checkbox on the listing contract is because I had a seller very early on, and foreign tax was not something I was as privy to as I should have been, and I am now. Because when we got to the closing table, they were told they owe another $60,000 in foreign tax, and they didn't have that to close. The seller didn't. So in the beginning, when you're talking about prelim title and all that stuff, everything is to get ready for closing and make sure that you don't have any surprises the day before.
Yeah.
You can't even sell this house, because in the end, they knew they needed to do that, or you didn't put the house on the market, one or the other. But yeah, it's just not, it's a very important checkbox on the listing contract to move forward.
While we're on the topic of listing contracts, I do see something very common, and it's surprising amongst agents that you would think should know by now. And that is, how should my Miss Seller sign? You know, she bought the house back when she was single, now she's married, or maybe it's just her house. Yeah, now she's married, how should she sign? I feel like a lot of realtors think that she should sign who she was when she bought the house 7 years ago. And that's, to me, just sounds silly. You should sign the contract who you are today.
It has to
Right.
match your ID, right?
It has to match your ID, and hopefully her ID is up to date, right? But yes, sign who you are today, and it should match your ID.
Okay. On the listing contract, that's a good point for us as agents. On the listing contract, we see that the title is in, Jane Smith, and now she's Jane Moore or whatever as a married person. The listing contract is with the married name, or it's who she is, right?
Who she is.
So all documents are who she currently is.
Correct.
Mm.
Because what happens is at the closing table, then that closer, last day of the month on a Friday, you love your closer and she loves you, but she might give you a little bit of an eye roll when she has to get up and go redo all those documents.
Yeah.
Right?
So purchase agreement as well.
Correct.
Because that doesn't matter, it is today.
Yeah.
But a listing, the paperwork could be old and a single name.
Yep.
Yeah. Men don't have to worry about this.
No, they don't. Winky.
Some are changing them,
sometimes
some are
One of my buddies
What?
has changed his name.
Yeah.
To her
Yeah. I doubt he's watching. Like,
name? That's a whole nother story.
I know.
Yeah.
Any other questions you have for Teresa? Teresa, these are all
No, it's
great.
been very
Yeah.
insightful, I
Yeah.
love it.
Anything else
Awesome.
that you want to, that you run into that you wish agents would help you with a little bit, or just?
Call me in 2 hours when I'm at my desk cussing you.
You're awesome though. You
Oh,
guys do such a
thanks.
great job.
I appreciate it. Thank
Well,
you.
Thank you so much for helping us.
Yeah,
Great
absolutely. Very
information.
insightful.
I know you
Oh, so
offer a
fun.
bunch of classes all the
Bunch of
time.
classes,
So if you
yes.
guys are interested, we'll give her information. We're gonna go over our stats, but at the end, give your email and phone number,
Sure will.
and she can put you on your email list for all these classes you guys have, because I know you just did one on wire fraud. It was great, and I know that you have others, so.
Thank you.
Take her email down and then get on her list, and, we'll just reach out to her. So
Yeah.
do the stats real quick.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
I'll start in Meridian Kessler. This week we had 6 new hit the market, so there's 15 total, which is really low for Meridian Kessler
I
right
think
now.
Labor Day came into play. I
It
noticed.
did. I mean, I'm just total listings in general, just
Yeah.
year over year, we're way,
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
down. We had 5 closings, average price of $425. Days on the market were 12, so still really low right now. Broad Ripple, we had 5 new hit the market, 3 of which are pending. We have 14 total, priced anywhere from $370 to $1.1 million
In Broad Ripple.
in Broad Ripple. And
Broad Ripple's changing so much.
we had 2 closings last month, average 285, so that's actually down, but it was lower priced homes. Days on the market right now are 24, medians 8. Lastly, downtown, we had 14 new hit the market, 7 of which are pending. 113 total, which is down quite a bit too. I'm just lumping all of downtown
Downtown
together
only has 113 active.
right now. Yep.
Wow.
And we had 4 closings. Average days on the market was 51, median 17, so quite a bit higher downtown. Average price on those were $607.
Downtown, yeah,
Yep.
a lot of those condos and stuff.
Condos,
Interesting.
houses, yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Carmel, so we had 17 hit the market in the last 7 days. 8 of those did pen. A total of 17 pended over the past weekend, 7 days. So that
That's
was
awesome.
quite a bit
It's a
for,
big jump,
you know. Average days on market 16 and median 8, so it's ticking up a little bit in Carmel. In the past 30 days, 118 homes have sold with an average day on market of 23 and a median 5. So the median's going up a little bit. Westfield 27 hit the market, only 4 pended. And the ones that hit the market, 22 total pended. So looking at that as well, so if we go back to Carmel, 17 hit the market and 17 pended. So we went to a complete
Net wash.
Yeah. Same in Westfield, we had 27 hit the market and 22 pended in the same 7-day period. Almost a complete wash of what hit the market. 133 are currently on the market. Again, I say this over and over again, a ton of new builds. Average days on market 31 with a median of 14. So in the past 7 days, the average days on market was 58 and a median of 25. So Westfield's slowing down a little bit. Again, a lot of the new build has that causes that issue. In Fishers, 35 hit the market. And then in the past 7 days, a total of 27 pended. So again, almost a complete wash of what hit the market.
Yep.
Average days on market in the past 7 days, 24 and 6 of the median. In the past 30 days, 111 have sold with 19 average and 8 median. So Fishers is staying about the same. And in Noblesville, 20 hit the market. A total of 23 pended in the past 7 days, so it took more than what hit the market. So our inventory is shrinking like crazy and just
It's so insane right now.
being sucked up completely every week. Average days on market in Noblesville, 22 with a median of 12. And in the past 30 days, 102 have sold with an average of 20 and a median of 9. So Noblesville staying about the same. In Zionsville, 11 hit the market, total of 4 pended. So that's, Zionsville is always its own little entity. Average days on market 18, and median was 3. And there's 52 that have sold in the past 30 days with an average of 21 and a median of 6. So really, the only town that seems to be ticking up in days on market is Westfield. But I think it might be because inventory is not coming on for the resales, and the new builds are the ones that are taking up most of the sales stats, and those are longer days on market. So other than that, it seems to be staying the same, but with the pendings and the sales this week, it looks like everything that comes on is,
yeah,
you know.
and the prices are still really good too. So out of the 11 that I had closed, 5 were at or above list price, and then the other ones were a little bit below. But all in all, it's like 95 to 99% of what they're what they're going
so
for.
we're not seeing. It's so funny, I had a call this morning of a guy who's trying to find a home, and he's working with it to help his son, and they were in the market last year, and he said they just had to quit. They had like 9 purchase agreements go out, and never got anything. So he called me, you could just tell his tail was between his legs this morning, and he's like, it seems like it's slowing down a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, as a buyer, you're much better off right now.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
buyers just really need to know, come back in the market. It's time.
If you can swallow the pill right now, you get a good deal.
Yeah, you'll do a lot better than you did. But thanks so much for having us.
You're
Teresa.
welcome,
Give us your
guys.
information so people can reach out to you.
All right, so Teresa Conley, my email address is tconley, TCONLEY at Centurion Land Title, and that's spelled CENTURION landtitle.com. My cell phone is 317-690-5966. Feel free to call, text, or email me, please. And also, just reach out to me. I don't want to give you too much.
What, do you have something coming up?
No, I got just something that's a little bit of my secret sauce that I just keep from my own agents. So, I'll tell you guys when the camera's off.
Perfect.
All right, reach out to her and find out what that is. Yes, I don't know.
You already know, you just don't know that it's so secret. But that's because you're
Oh,
You're
God,
just so good at what you do.
She
You
is.
know.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm Shelly Walters. My phone number is 317-201-2601. Shelly Walters Realty Group with FC Tucker.
And Justin Griffith, 317-507-5599. Fishers.real estate is the website. And give me a call.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for joining in the housing market.